Honeymoon Temptation, a Lust Story script. Our anniversary trip was at a stunning mountain resort nestled between snow-capped peaks and emerald forests. The cabin was intimate yet luxurious, filled with the scent of pine candles and fresh mountain air. The fireplace crackled softly, casting dancing shadows on the wooden walls. After a day of hiking, my partner had fallen into a deep sleep beside me, exhausted from our adventures. I lay awake though, the crisp mountain air and excitement of our getaway keeping sleep at bay. The silence was peaceful yet somehow electric, as if the mountain itself was humming with energy. Feeling restless, I decided to step onto the private deck to enjoy the starlit sky. The night was breathtaking, with stars scattered like diamonds across the darkness. I wrapped my silk robe tighter around me as the cool breeze kissed my skin. Just then, I heard footsteps on the path below. Looking down, I saw the resort's evening concierge making his rounds, checking the cabins. He noticed me on the deck and looked up, his face illuminated by the soft glow from our cabin. "Beautiful night, isn't it?" he called out softly, careful not to disturb the sleeping guests nearby. His voice was warm and inviting, with an accent I couldn't quite place. "Absolutely stunning," I replied, surprised by how naturally the conversation flowed. There was something magnetic about his presence, the way he moved with quiet confidence through the shadows. "First time in the mountains?" he asked, stepping closer to the deck railing. The moonlight revealed his striking features, dark eyes that seemed to hold mysteries, and a smile that was both professional and somehow intimate. "Yes, it's our anniversary," I said, though I wasn't sure why I felt the need to mention it. Maybe it was to remind myself of the boundaries, or perhaps to test his reaction. His smile deepened slightly. "Congratulations. The mountains have a way of making special occasions even more memorable." The way he said it carried layers of meaning that made my pulse quicken. We stood there for a moment, the mountain air thick with unspoken tension. I could feel an invisible thread connecting us across the space between the deck and the path below. It was thrilling and dangerous all at once. "I should let you enjoy the peace," he said finally, though he made no move to leave. "But if you need anything during your stay, anything at all, just call the front desk. Ask for Marco." Marco. The name suited him perfectly. "Thank you, Marco. I'll remember that." He gave me one last lingering look before continuing his rounds, disappearing into the shadows between the cabins. I remained on the deck long after he left, my heart racing from the unexpected encounter. The next morning brought bright sunshine and new adventures. My partner and I explored hiking trails, visited local markets, and shared romantic meals overlooking the valley. Every moment was beautiful and filled with love, yet I found my thoughts occasionally drifting to the mysterious concierge. That evening, while my partner took a long soak in the hot tub, I decided to visit the resort's small library to find a book to read. The library was tucked away in a quiet corner of the main lodge, surrounded by floor-to-ceiling windows that offered stunning views of the forest. As I browsed the shelves, I heard that familiar voice behind me, looking for something specific. Marco appeared beside me, his presence immediately filling the small space with an electric energy. "Just something to read before bed," I said, trying to sound casual despite the way my heart began racing again. "Any recommendations?" He reached past me to pull a book from the shelf, his arm brushing against mine in the process. The brief contact sent shivers down my spine. "This one's about adventure and unexpected journeys," he said, handing me a leather-bound novel. "Sometimes the best stories are the ones we never see coming." Our fingers touched as I took the book, and neither of us pulled away immediately. The moment stretched between us, filled with possibilities and dangerous attraction. "Is that your philosophy?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Life's too short for predictable stories," he replied, his dark eyes never leaving mine. "Don't you think?" I felt drawn to him like a moth to flame, fascinated by his confidence and the way he seemed to understand something about me that I barely understood myself. "Some people prefer safe, predictable stories," I said, though my voice lacked conviction. "And what about you?" The question hung in the air between us, heavy with implication. "Do you prefer safe stories?" Before I could answer, I heard footsteps approaching the library. Instinctively, I stepped back, creating space between us just as another guest entered looking for reading material. Marco smoothly transitioned into his professional role, helping the guest find what they needed while I pretended to continue browsing. After the guest left, we were alone again, but the moment had shifted. The interruption reminded me of reality, of my partner waiting back at the cabin, of the life I had chosen and the vows I had made. "I should go," I said, clutching the book he had given me. "Thank you for the recommendation. Enjoy the story," he said, his voice carrying a double meaning that wasn't lost on me. "And remember, the best adventures often begin when we step outside our comfort zones." I hurried back to the cabin, my mind spinning with confusion and excitement. The book felt heavy in my hands, like it carried the weight of the moment we had just shared. Back in the cabin, I found my partner relaxed and happy, and we spent the evening cuddled by the fire, reading and talking about our day. But as the days passed, I found myself looking for Marco everywhere we went. Every meal in the dining room, every walk through the lodge, every evening on the deck, I was hyper-aware of his possible presence. When I did catch glimpses of him, our eyes would meet across crowded spaces, and I would feel that same electric thrill. On our second to last night, my partner decided to join a group stargazing session led by the resort's astronomy guide. I claimed a headache and stayed behind, knowing I needed some time alone to sort through my conflicted feelings. I was sitting by the fire in our cabin when there was a soft knock at the door. My heart leaped, somehow knowing who it would be before I opened it. Marco stood there with a tray of herbal tea and fresh pastries. "I heard you weren't feeling well," he said, his concerns seeming genuine. "I thought this might help." I let him in, knowing I shouldn't, but unable to resist. He set the tray on the coffee table, and we sat across from each other, the fire crackling between us. The intimacy of the moment was overwhelming, just the two of us in the cozy cabin, away from the watchful eyes of other guests and staff. "How's the book?" he asked, nodding toward where it lay on the side table. "Compelling," I admitted, "full of unexpected twists. The best stories usually are." He leaned forward slightly, his eyes intense in the firelight. "Sometimes we think we know how our story is supposed to go, but then life presents us with a different chapter." The metaphor wasn't lost on me. And what if we're already committed to one story? What if changing chapters would hurt people we care about? His expression grew thoughtful. "I think we can honor our commitments while still acknowledging when something extraordinary crosses our path. Recognition doesn't always require action." We talked for what felt like hours about books, travel, dreams, and philosophy. Every word felt charged with the tension between us, every glance a small rebellion against the boundaries we both knew existed. As the fire burned lower, the conversation grew more personal, more dangerous. "I should go," he said finally, though neither of us moved. "But I want you to know that meeting you has been the highlight of my time here." "Marco," I began, not sure what I wanted to say. "You don't have to say anything," he interrupted gently. "Some connections don't need words. They just need to be acknowledged." He stood to leave, and I walked him to the door. As he turned to say goodbye, we found ourselves standing closer than before, the space between us charged with everything we couldn't say. For a moment, I thought he might kiss me, or that I might step forward and close the distance myself. Instead, he reached up and gently tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, his fingers lingering against my cheek for just a second. "Take care of yourself," he whispered. After he left, I sat staring into the dying fire, my cheeks still tingling from his touch. When my partner returned from stargazing, full of enthusiasm about the constellations he had seen, I listened and smiled and pushed thoughts of Marco to a quiet corner of my mind. Our last day arrived too quickly. As we packed our bags and prepared to return to our regular lives, I felt a bittersweet mix of emotions. The trip had been wonderful, filled with love and connection with my partner, but it had also awakened something in me that I hadn't expected. As we checked out, Marco was at the front desk handling other guests. Our eyes met briefly as we passed, and he gave me the subtlest nod, a quiet acknowledgement of what had passed between us and what would remain unspoken. In the car driving down the mountain, my partner talked excitedly about planning our next trip. I listened and agreed, and held his hand, genuinely happy and grateful for the love we shared. But tucked away in my heart was the memory of those stolen moments with Marco, the thrill of unexpected connection, the electricity of possibility, the reminder that life can surprise us when we least expect it. That night, as I unpacked our bags at home, I found the book Marco had recommended tucked between my clothes. Inside the front cover, in elegant handwriting, was a simple message: for the adventurous soul who chooses love in all its forms. I smiled, understanding his words perfectly. Love isn't just one thing, it's the steady, committed love I share with my partner. But it's also the appreciation for beautiful moments of connection that remind us we're alive and capable of feeling deeply. As I placed the book on my nightstand, I knew it would always remind me of those magical days in the mountains, of the power of unexpected encounters, and of the delicate balance between honoring our commitments and acknowledging the beautiful complexity of human connection. If you've ever found yourself caught between loyalty and attraction, between the safety of the known and the thrill of the unexpected, then follow Lust's story for more tales of passion, temptation, and the beautiful complications of the heart. Like this video if you've ever experienced that electric moment of connection with a stranger, and subscribe for new stories every week about love in all its complicated forms. Thank you for listening to this mountain adventure.